Let me tell you something that took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. Okay. A fear of visibility is not a confidence problem. I know. Okay. Everyone says it is. You just got to be yourself. Get main character energy or fake it till you make it even. But with that advice, we've been medicating a symptom instead of the cause. And the reason that confidence advice doesn't stick when we're talking about visibility, the reason you can psych yourself up, get some momentum even, feel like it's finally working even, and then one bad comment or one awkward interaction sends the whole thing sideways. It's that you were never solving the right problem. Okay, being scared to put yourself out there isn't about what you believe about yourself. It's about what your nervous system can tolerate. And those are two completely different things. Okay, stick with me for 7 minutes because once you see this, you will never think about visibility the same way again.
You're listening to the Science and Spirit of Happy, a podcast unpacking the sustainable dreams theory.
Part 1, why the confidence fix doesn't work. Here's what actually happens when you try to solve a visibility problem with confidence work. Okay? You get a hit of inspiration. You decide to go for it. You start posting. You're putting yourself out there. You're saying yes to the things you normally wouldn't. You build some momentum. You think, okay, this is it. I'm doing it. And for a while, maybe it works. You look confident. Maybe you even feel confident. But then the environment shifts. Maybe you get a lukewarm response to something you were really proud of. Maybe someone in your life reacts to the new you with skepticism, or worse, criticism, judgment, indifference. Maybe there's just a bad week, man, life stress, a wobble. And suddenly the whole thing feels heavier than it did at the start. Okay, showing up either feels impossible or it starts to feel like performing. Like you're playing a character who is confident. Okay, feeling imposter syndrome creep in. Like none of it is actually you and someone is going to find you out. And people fall into two categories when this happens. You either white knuckle through it, grinding forward, keeping up appearances, slowly hollowing out. Or you pull back entirely, go quiet. Tell yourself you'll try again when you feel more ready. And here's what nobody says out loud about that moment. You can believe fully in yourself, your mission, your vision, and still go through this, okay? And cringe. Because it is not a failure of confidence. It's a failure of capacity. And you cannot fix a capacity problem by believing in yourself harder. You have to build something underneath the belief. So part 2, what imposter syndrome actually is. So here's the reframe. Imposter syndrome is not, I don't believe I'm good enough. That framing sends people down a very specific and largely useless rabbit hole. More credentials, more validation, more proof that you've earned the right to be seen. I know this one personally, okay? I spent years building a methodology that was measurably, demonstrably more effective than anything else I could find in my space. I had the research, I had the results. I had clients whose lives changed dramatically. I knew it worked. And still, I couldn't stand behind it fully. So you know what I did? I went and got another degree. One I absolutely did not need. I didn't even teach on the topic. But I needed something external to grip onto because I didn't have the internal capacity to stay with the discomfort of being seen without it. But here's the punchline, y'all. The degree didn't even help. Not even a little bit. Because the problem was never my credentials. Okay, imposter syndrome is not a knowledge deficit, it's a nervous system deficit. Specifically, your nervous system doesn't yet have the capacity to remain present with the experience of being visible, of being seen, of taking up space, of having people look at you, form opinions about you, misunderstand you, push back against you, and not needing to escape that experience. You ever see people who are they're just not bothered by someone's destructive behavior? They're just like, oh yeah, that guy totally lost it on me last week. He's something else, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And there's little to no dysregulation behind it. Or better yet, they can be around the most destructive people and just not catch flack from them. Okay, that capacity, the ability to be visible, to take up space without your nervous system treating it like a threat, without providing destructive forces a hook to snag onto. That's part of what I've defined as the personal power of comfort. And it is the missing piece in almost every visibility conversation I have ever seen. So part 3, what comfort actually is. Now, comfort, personal power of comfort, not your comfort zone, not ease, not avoiding challenge or staying small. Comfort is your capacity to stay with your own experience as it is, especially when it's uncomfortable, without needing to escape it, override it, or make it mean something devastating about who you are. In visibility terms, you post something, you get a hostile comment, and you don't spiral. Or you get few hostile comments to begin with. You get misunderstood and you don't retreat. You put yourself out there fully, imperfectly, authentically, really you, and you don't need to perform or disappear or convince anyone of anything, that you belong. And people get it. Okay, they accept it. They give space for it, for you. Or if they don't, you're still only seeing the people who do. You're only paying attention to the people who get you. Okay, not because the others don't exist, but because they don't matter. I'll explain that in a sec. But I want to tell you what this looked like for me when I finally got there. Okay, because early in my career, I was terrified of backlash that never even came. Okay, I was performing, hedging, shrinking, defending against attacks that existed entirely in my own imagination. Fast forward a few years, I'm running the Science and Spirit of Happy. My visibility starts to get real, okay? I start going viral. With that, so does the backlash. But I'm unbothered by it. Seriously. Then it's not because I practiced all those years, okay? I didn't get measurably better at visibility in that time at all. But because my comfort level changed, my capacity changed, and it's rippled through my brand. I had a post go viral recently that came with a wave of hostile comments. People projecting, misrepresenting, attacking values I hold close to my core. My team and I were sitting in a meeting laughing at them, okay? Literally laughing at them. No one felt threatened. I've become that person who is unbothered. And I'm surrounded by people who feel the same. Not because we're detached, not because I don't care or they don't care, but because we can see them clearly for what they are. And the harm intended, it just doesn't land. That is not more confidence. That is an expanded capacity to stay with the discomfort of being seen. And here's the crux of how it's done, okay? You realize that the people who don't agree with you aren't the people you want to agree with you anyhow. You look at the people you're most afraid of criticizing you, or telling you that you don't belong. And you realize you don't want their approval to begin with. You actually become proud that these kinds of people disagree with you because what they agree with is so far from what you believe and what you stand for that you don't even want to be associated with it. You realize their disagreement is actually a sign of your success. You accept that criticism is the price of impact, and you put your focus on impact. You're living your purpose. That's the mechanism that makes you both A, stop caring about destructive criticism, and B, makes you capable of acting on constructive criticism. This is the precise equation required for the wildest success. I can be misunderstood and not collapse. I can be challenged and not retreat. I can be wrong and say so, learn and change without shame swallowing me whole. That's comfort. And that's what makes it possible to actually build a sustainable dream. So as we close, where does this capacity come from? When you can't seem to access it. Or let's talk more to the point, okay? Where does the lack of it come from? Early environment. Specifically, what your nervous system learned was safe to be seen in, safe to feel, safe to remain inside of. That's attachment. It's your attachment style. And it shapes your visibility ceiling long before you ever post a single thing or walk into a single room. If you grew up in an environment where being fully yourself drew criticism, withdrawal, or made the people around you anxious, your nervous system learned visibility is exposure. And exposure is dangerous. That's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of ambition. It's not a lack of confidence. It's a pattern. And patterns are not permanent. You don't have a visibility or imposter syndrome problem, okay? You don't have a problem really with confidence. You have a comfort deficit, the foundation of confidence as a personal power, which means this is developable. You can actually build this, not by performing confidence until it eventually sticks somehow, but by reshaping what your nervous system can hold. The full episode on comfort goes deep on exactly how this works, the nervous system mechanism, how attachment wires it, what the dents look like in real life, and what high comfort actually feels like when it's developed. The link is in the description. You can go watch it. You can join the membership where I deliver tools and therapies to work on the personal powers every single month. But this is the conversation that changes the visibility problem for good. Okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe to this content if you got something from it. It helps people find me, but also helps you find the goods every time that I publish. See you next time, guys.